Welcome to the 10-Minute Treasure. My name's Jeff Pospisil. And one of the questions I'm getting now is that a lot of churches that are going through changes, especially going from United Methodist to Global Methodist, they're wondering if they could do something about how they set up their committees and how they set up their board. And so I want to walk through this. How do I implement a single board governance? How do I implement a single board governance? So how do I go from having maybe you're that traditional committee structure where you have a bunch of different committees and then you have a representative from each of those committees on your church council. Is there a different way to do this? And I'm going to go ahead and show you an option for you. All right, for knowing how a global Methodist church should organize, we're going to start by looking at the Book of Doctrines and Disciplines. So go to globalmethodist.org. And then over on the far right here, there's a menu. So you click on that. And then if we go on to the second one, it's resources. And we have Transitional Book of Doctrines and Discipline. I'm going to click on that. It's transitional because the convening conference hasn't met yet. So this is the draft that they're getting. It's a really good starting point. It's a really good starting point. There will be adaptations, but I think this will be something that you can still organize your church without fear of something major changing, at least for the committees and the structure. So let's go ahead and look down, and if we see there's part 3 is the local church. And this is going to cover a lot of things. So there's the mission of the local church, ministry of the laity, membership, baptism, communion, all kinds of stuff. But then we get down to this one. It's 337 organization. And when you click on that, here's the nice thing. It says the basic organization. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the basic organizational plan for the local church may be designed by each congregation as long as it's doing these things. It's discipling. I'm going to say it differently than what it's written. They need to be discipling their members and they need to be evangelizing their community. So that's how I see it. If they're discipling their members and evangelizing their community, however they want to organize, that's fine. So it does say they must have a church council or a similar governing body. So they need a church board. So let's go ahead and keep going down. Talk about the charge conference, which is your annual meeting, the leaders you need. And they do talk about the church council. And so this is important. In the single board model, you still need to care for the overall ministry of the church, the overall mission and vision of the church. And I'm not actually going to read through that. I just kind of glanced through it. But there are 3 main administrative duties that every church needs to pay attention to. So there's 3 main ones. And once you get past nominations, which is just how people get into leadership, they are the people. I'm just going to say it, the people, the property, and the finances. So you need to care for the people, the property, and the finances. So a lot of times in the single board model, that's single board. It might have 9, it might have 12 people in there. You would split it into 3 different subcommittees. And those subcommittees, you can invite other people that are not on the board onto those subcommittees. You still don't want to make them too large. But those subcommittees then care for the people, which is the traditional staff pastor relations committee or pastor parish relations committee. You have a group that is caring for the property, which is the board of trustees. And then you have a group that's caring for the finances, and that's the finance committee. You can have other committees, but they don't get representation on the church board or the church council automatically anyway. You can set up all different kinds of program or administrative committees, but really that church council, they need to take care of those 3 things in the single board model. They need to take care of the people, the property, and the finances. So I did talk over how this looks in very brief. You know how you have the church council, and it has three subcommittees that are over the people, the property, and the finances. So I did create back in February of 2020 a series of videos to walk a United Methodist Church through this transition from that traditional committee structure to the single board model. And a friend of mine, Kermit Culver, is the one I actually interview in this. And Kermit, almost 20 years ago, had led his church through this process. So he was one of the early adopters of this. And it would help. So if your church doesn't know what they're going to do, I would have them watch these three videos to get an idea. So we'll talk about the problems with the traditional committee structure. We will talk about the solution. So we're going to go ahead and go into greater depth on exactly how that single board model works. And this one, even though it's the one that you see, it only has 200 views, where this one has 578 views. People think that once you adopt that structure, your problems are fixed. But guess what? How do you implement? So how do you actually transition? Because change is difficult. We know this. Change is not easy, even if it's a really, really good change. It's easy to fall into old habits or to, I don't know, get confused in this. So I'd encourage you to watch all three of these, and it might help you organize your church, because it is so important. If you want to be good in your ministry, you have to also have a solid foundation for the administration and leadership. So, all right, that brings us to the end. Hopefully this has helped. Like I said, I will put a link to that series of videos in the description. And if this is something that you're curious on, I would go ahead and listen to that interview. And Kermit does a really, really good job about walking a church through that. And these videos have helped. Mainly they were watched in the Dakotas, but they've helped a lot of people in the Dakotas make that transition. So, all right, till next time, God bless you.